Welcome to Andy's Garage. I'm Andy Phillips. Today I'm going to show you how to replace the sway bar link or stabilizer link on a Chevy Trailblazer. This is the 5.3 liter V8. Any of the other vehicles that utilized this GM setup like this would be the same on them as well. But let's go ahead and get started. Looking into the wheel well, this particular vehicle, I'm doing some other work to it, so I have all this removed, but you're going to want to obviously remove the tire, get it up in the air. Always make sure that you're using jack stands, not relying just on the jack. But as you have it off, you have your upper control arm here, you have your strut coming down. This is your sway bar coming right through here. This is your stabilizer link right here, or your sway bar link. And what it does is it connects to the sway bar and then to the lower control arm, and that's it. Now you don't have to do what I just did, and that is pretty much disconnecting the ball joint from the upper control arm so you can take the steering knuckle and pull it away. But I do recommend it because that gives you better access to get in here. But since I'm doing some other suspension work, I had to do that anyway. But it's up to you. You can do it without it. But if you run into some issues getting those 18 millimeter nuts off of the stabilizer link, you're going to need that extra space if you need to do any cutting or getting any other tools in there. These are held on, we can see one right there, by two 18 millimeter nuts, one on each side. Now you do have the center piece, and I'll get a close-up where you do have to put a hex bit in there. So the stud coming through the nut there has a hex pattern inside of it. And I found that and I believe this is what I'm using right here. This is an H6 is the bit that I found fits in there. Other people have said otherwise. It could just be because mine's older and it's got some debris and some rust kind of caked up in there. But that's what I'm going to be using, and you need to hold that part stable while you turn the nut, otherwise it's all going to rotate together. I've been fooling around with this for a while, even used some locking pliers to grab onto the nut to stabilize it. Tried banging on it and everything to loosen it. These things are on there tight, and unfortunately that's the problem with these stabilizer links with that design where you have to do the hex in the middle and all that stuff. The cool thing is the aftermarket ones I'm putting on do not have that, so I don't have to deal with that again. However, for this one here, it's stuck. So I'm going to use a cutoff tool, and I had to do it on the other side as well. But I'm going to take the cutoff tool, and we're just going to have to cut the nut off and then pull that out. Now, if you wind up in the same situation that I'm in where you have to use a cutoff tool or something to cut it, make sure you use proper eye protection. You definitely don't want metal getting into your eyes. So let's start cutting. I was able to cut the nut enough to break it kind of loose. So now we're just going to grab it on here. Here we go. Here it comes. That's how it should normally come off. You should just be able to hold the nut and then rotate the center, and the nut comes right off. So we'll see what's up with the one here on this side. Hopefully it's not another mess, because if it is, we're going to have to do the same thing. And that's what I had to cut right there to break it loose. Now to pull that lower piece of the stabilizer link out from the lower control arm, what I do is I just put a hydraulic jack under the lower control arm, raise it up enough, and then that just pops right out, and then now we can do that one. So unfortunately did not have any good luck trying to get that one off. So I've started cutting it, and what I've done in the past with these upper ones, it's sometimes easier to cut it back here in the front and then just bang it through. Now, one thing to keep in mind, in this video I'm having to cut these off. That's not always going to be the case. I've dealt with vehicles before where they come off with no problem. So this is not the norm, but since that's what we're experiencing, that's what I'm showing. And now we'll just take the sledgehammer, knock it right off. We'll trim off that broken piece there and then just punch it through. So the next thing I'm going to do is just take a little punch, put it right here, give it a nice little tap, and it's out. ready to put our replacement in. So what we will do, we'll slide the bottom in here. And as you can see, it's not matching up to the top. So I'm going to jack up the lower control arm to raise it into position, and then we'll slide that through. We'll bring this one up. It's lining up right here. Raise it just a little bit more. There we are. Now we'll go ahead and put the nuts on it. Go ahead. We'll tighten them up to the appropriate torque. Now on these new ones, we don't have that hex in the middle. Instead, we have a 17 millimeter right there to latch onto to hold it steady. And then that's a 19 millimeter. So depending on what brand you get, that may differ. But we'll go ahead and put this. We'll hold this steady. And then just crank it like this. They're both on. Okay, well that wraps up this video on how to replace the sway bar link or stabilizer link on a Chevy Trailblazer 5.3 liter V8. At this point, if you weren't doing other work in here like I'm doing, I gotta put more stuff in here, but at this point you would just put the tire back on, lower it, and you're good to go. Make sure you do get an alignment anytime you mess with any of the suspension pieces. It's always good to have the car realigned just to make sure. So that wraps up this video. Please send me any questions, comments. I would love to hear from you. I hope that this video helped you out with any projects that you're working on. And as always, I appreciate all the support. So please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time.